and you're listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
Live on our weekly radio show right here on Spice FM.
Each week we'll try and bring some views, news, and one or two clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support, and promote the Asian and wider communities.
And we'll be talking shop quite literally, and not just corner shops. Whether you're looking to start a business, have an existing business, or you just want to talk business, we can help.
We can help. We can help. Gosh, it's horrible out there, Jalf, isn't it?
Well, it's been the same all week, hasn't it? It's been constant.
I don't think so. I don't think it was like this all week, but
certainly the last 2-3 days, it's been constant. It has definitely been a gloomy week. But hey, this is autumn on the cusp of winter, so I guess we expect the weather to be kind of on a similar vein to what it is at the moment. You know, it is what it is. I guess, you know, you get changed into the winter autumn clothing and get some Uggs on, you know.
Yeah. So what do you call men Uggs?
Men Uggs? I've got some men Uggs, and you know what? They're really good, you know, Ammar, because they're obviously
are they called mugs?
Mugs. Well, yeah, I mean, I think I have some cool ones that look pretty cool, but the great thing is they are 100% waterproof. They go above your ankles. They've got a bit of wool on the inside, so they keep you nice and warm. They keep you nice and dry. And
right.
Regardless of, I mean, yesterday I had to do a bit of walking in the city centre. I had a jacket on with my hood on. I had an umbrella, but it was though that the umbrella didn't make any difference, because the rain was swirling, and it was, you know, the jacket was absolutely drenched. Your jeans were drenched, but at least your feet weren't, which was a bit of consolation.
That's good.
So
as long as your feet are all right.
Yeah, well, you come into work and your jeans are wet and it's a bit gloomy, but you know, they soon dry up, and it's just a different season. Which I guess, do you know what, Ammar? I was just thinking about the seasons, and you go to somewhere like Dubai, where they don't have seasons, they don't really have the rain, they don't have the snow, and I think all of these things do add something to the country that we live in. And yes, sometimes you don't like the rain, but then imagine that there was no rain at all. I think you would. So I guess having different seasons and having a variation in the weather, I think it's a beautiful thing.
I agree. Whilst I probably don't like the fact that the weather is as bad as it is when I'm in the middle of it.
Yeah,
I selfishly somewhat appreciate the fact that we do have the seasons, and it just sort of goes with the flow. The point is, however, sadly, the seasons are far more dramatic right now, aren't they? In that, listening as I was coming in. So this morning, I've just been to a meeting with the Permanent Secretary of State for the Department of Levelling Up and Housing and Communities. And as I was sort of trying to get there, all I heard on the radio, this road's flooded, that road's flooded. Yeah, it's actually, it's not that it's the rain, it's the fact that our historic drains are unable to cope with, which is incredible. But if you think back to the drains in this country, Jalf, right? They were built like 100 and odd years ago.
In the Victorian era.
Yeah.
I mean, you made a point about the changes. What changes? I don't think there are any changes. I think there seems to be some kind of an agenda now that we have to be hell-bent on telling everybody that, oh my God, the weather's changing. What's changing? I mean, the summer, I was going down to London, and it was one of the hottest days, and all you could hear on the on the trains, and this was guidelines issued obviously by the Met Office that this the hot weather what words that they were using, this is a heat wave, it's a heat wave. And I landed at King's Cross, and it was like a ghost town. There was no one there because they've scared everybody off. And I'm thinking, hey man, I'm enjoying this weather because you don't. Regardless of whether it wasn't exactly 50 degrees. It was probably 35 degrees or something.
So what's your tip? What's the bottom line? Everyone should get some mugs.
And is that the weather is the weather, and
everyone should get some Uggs.
Yeah, adapt. Enjoy the sun, enjoy the cold, be equipped for it. But as a nation, instead of kind of trying to change people's perception. So what they do is,
I don't think I'm trying to change anybody's perception.
If you watch the news in the summer, watch the news and have a look at the map of the UK. It's bright orange. Whereas if you have a look at the map 20 years ago, it was just green, and then it would tell you the weather. And now they're trying to say that the country is burning, and you've got this orange country, orange. The whole map of the UK is in orange, and they're saying, "Oh my God, it's 30 degrees." But hey, it's summer, and it's nice to be at 30 degrees. So I think it's all down to this big thing that they want to do, the environmental changes that they want to make to the whole world, COP26 or whatever it may be, and introduce a few more restrictions here and there because of your carbon footprint A, B, C, and D, which is a whole load of nonsense. I mean, yeah, we want to look after the planet, but maybe you need to stop going to war. That might help, instead of like trying to keep us in the house because of our carbon footprint, but yet constantly have this thing that you want to go to war and have World War III, where it seems to be the agenda on so many people. Just constantly, that's what they want, and so it's all a bit. I'm a bit concerned, and I'm a bit. I can't think of the word, but there just seems to be this big thing about wanting to go to war. Even this thing that happened the other day, where apparently Russia landed these 2 missiles on Poland, on Poland, and it was a big hoo-ha. Oh, it's going to evoke Article 5 of the NATO agreement, this, that, and other, and World War III. I mean, there were just so many newspapers that were so rubbing their hands like, yes, this has happened, now we can have this World War III. And all of a sudden, when they realized it wasn't the Russians, they just, delete their stories and stop talking about it. And I'm just thinking, like, what are they doing? Why are they so wanting to go to war? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And to talk about the environment, but stop this whole narrative about wanting to go.
I don't know if you can tell, Jalf, but just for the benefit of our listeners and viewers, I am sat at Anzio House, the home of the 5th Fusiliers, one of our army detachments, and based on the quayside. So I think I'm in the commanding officer's room. But anyway, I mean, there isn't anything that I am necessarily disagreeing with you.
Saying about the war, and look, we want to look after our environment, and those are really, really big things. So there you go. That's summarizing what I've been.
Absolutely, and I sort of say I cannot imagine, even though where I am sat, that lots of people sat here are necessarily keen to go to war. I don't think that is the case at all, right? It's and from a family community perspective, I certainly wouldn't want my nephew who's in the armed forces to go to war. I certainly wouldn't want any of my friends and my regiment to go to war. And actually, I'd argue that the vast majority of people don't. There may be a minority, but that is always a minority. So anyway, Yeah, it's the weather, regardless of whatever your view is, it's still really wet, Jaff.
Also,
And as I'm driving along, there's huge puddles and there's huge, arguably, floods that exist. So, I think we need to contextualize that somewhat. And have you got, like, are they the sheepskin ones? Have you got them on? Can you do a demonstration? No, not.
are the sheepskin ones, Amar. I got them a couple of years ago. But
They
definitely,
are.
I 100% recommend everyone to get a pair because they're brilliant.
As in the ones that have got like a rubber bottom, like as in they look the same as the female ones.
But they look pretty, yeah, they are, but they're quite robust and they look quite cool.
Okay.
Um,
Have you got
yeah,
them on now?
they're in the office.
Oh, okay.
Picture later. Off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Make sure you do. Make
I
sure
will.
you do.
Oh, let's talk about the budget.
Why would you want to spoil the morning?
I know. Well, I just feel that I feel as though I want to leave the country. I don't know if I don't know if I'm alone in that thought, but I just feel that there's an attack on small businesses. And if you ever think about the tax, I was at a restaurant in the Lake District in the summer, and I was speaking to this old businessman, and he was saying, "Do you know what, son? Like going back to the '80s when takeaways became part of it became a bit bigger because takeaways wasn't really that big in the '70s and '80s. Takeaways, and do you know what? When we were doing takeaways, there was no VAT, you know."
Hmm.
And it was like takeaways started to get bigger. Then they introduced the VAT, and then the VAT was like 5%. Then it was 15%. Then it was 17%. Then it's 20%. And then he actually knew the dates of all of these different occurrences over the years, where the taxes just keep on going up, 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 and it's come to the point where the government's kind of they look at the treasury, they look at society, and they just look at how where they can keep on taxing us and keep on taxing us and keep on taxing us.
Hmm.
And ultimately, the thought process growing up, Omar, used to be that conservatives are always good for business, and the Labour they're good for Labour, so the workers so I remember even speaking to our florist a few doors away, and she was like, "Yeah," and this was like about 10 years ago. She says, "Yeah, well, it's going to be great if conservative comes into power because it's going to be good for business. They're going to help us with the taxes and this, that, and the other." I mean, I've just lost all sense of any of that. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I just feel that regardless of who's in power, the agenda is to keep on putting these taxes up, and any things that we did have, any type of little benefits, whether it be dividends or A, B, C, and D, it's just all being taken away, and there seems to be zero benefits for individuals that work 24/7 to set up businesses and create employment and create jobs and create growth, which is eventually the small business to then grow the economy. There seems to be no encouragement for us to do that. That's how I'm feeling at the moment. I don't think I'm alone.
Hmm. Yeah. I, I don't disagree with anything again. Um, I was listening to Jeremy Hunt this morning on radio for before listening to Spice FM, obviously. But part of what I find interesting is he's quite good. Politicians are really good. Certain politicians are so good at doing the interviews and sticking to the message without sort of responding to the questions. And he was just saying there's a fiscal hole. So here's the thing, right? So part of what the budget has been predicated on, and what Andrew Bailey, the Bank of England governor, said last week in Newcastle, is that the recession is going to be short and shallow. right?
How about you said the other contrary
What?
to that? They were saying it was,
Sorry?
the messages were
What?
different.
Well, there's always different messages. It's a different day, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
But in essence, the anyway, that's what they're predicting. I somewhat disagree,
Oh,
right? So I disagree,
okay.
is my view, because I don't think the recession is going to be quickly over
Hmm.
by by the beginning or the middle of next year.
Okay.
I think it's going to get worse. I think
Yep.
everything's going to get worse.
Yep.
Is what is going to happen. If I just, Jeff, like and talking very frankly and seriously, because we jest a lot, but I've really started to look at, like, in depth, like all of the bills and the costs.
Mm.
Some of the mortgages on my properties have gone up 3 times what they are, and it's a big property and it's a big mortgage. My gas and electricity bill are now like £500-600 a month. I remember them being like, I thought £100 a month was expensive, but and this is just in the house, and this is apparently whilst we're getting some help, and I live in a 2-bedroom flat in a high rise.
Mm.
As in, imagine what it's
Mm.
going to get like. Um, and I'm just sat there thinking, my council tax bill is going to go up,
Mm.
right? I'm already paying like £300-400 a month or whatever it is, and
Mm.
I live in a 2-bedroom flat.
Mm.
It's like, so all
It's
of a sudden, it's your point around, you feel as if you want to go out of the country. Well, I feel like that because it's because of the weather, right? I feel as if so it's that hot. And interestingly, I did say to the wife, um, let's go away for New Year, and the cost is just ridiculous.
what the whole and the travel, or just the whole, which one? Both? Is
Well,
it
well, it was like, if I think I looked at Dubai, because that's probably the most. I mean, I'd like to go to somewhere like the Mauritius, or like Mexico is meant to be hot, or Dominican Republic and things like that. But anyway, Dubai, right? 5 nights, 2 adults, 2 kids, staying in an okay type of hotel over New Year. Have a guess how much? Economy, all economy.
what for the hotel?
No, just for the it's a holiday. So Emirates holiday, I think.
Oh gosh, what, 10 grand, 12 grand?
Yeah, so that's the point. As in 12 grand.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, isn't it?
Well, especially when on the other hand, you're like, everything's going up.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's frightening. It's frightening what is happening. And I think everyone has to. You have to align your thought process, and you have to align your lifestyles, and you have to begin to align them now with the view, as you say, things to get a lot worse when we get into 2023. I think, obviously, myself being in hospitality, we're going to scrape through this year,
Right?
hopefully with
Have you
craziness.
got Jeff? What does it look like for Christmas and the coming weeks and things like that?
Crazy busy, Ammar, like
Good,
unbelievable.
good.
It's
Yeah, no,
mental.
good.
But I think the city on Saturday gone, honestly, it was it was chaos. The whole city was just chaos. I mean, you had the Chelsea match,
I
the
was going
feel.
to say, did you go to the Chelsea match?
Yeah, I mean, the feel good factor around the football at the moment and the benefits of that to the city is just immense, absolutely immense. I mean, we went to the match, got back, and then amazingly for us in the restaurant, we had Joe Willock. He comes in quite regularly, but he came in he scored the match winning goal, and then he came in and he walked in the restaurant about 9:30 with his brother and his girlfriend, and the whole just stopped because this Joe Willock has just scored the winning goal in a match against Chelsea, and it was like an amazing feeling for everybody. He's
Excellent.
a cool guy as well. But the general feel-good factor at the moment, Ammar, what the football is doing to the city is immense. I think for us as looking at microeconomics, if the football continues to do as it does, and we can somehow get the Champions League spot, I think that will drag Newcastle not through a recession, but it's going to do its bit to alleviate the pain and make things a little bit easier for us as a city.
Yeah. I think so. And actually this week I met with the Saudi Business Link. So we're going to start developing relationships with them, which is amazing. And the head of, well, the female who is the local Saudi representative, as in on the ground for students and things like that.
Yeah.
It's the first time they've had a female who's done that. So no, it's good. And Jalf, I'm sponsoring the female game next week, so you'll have to come along, meet Amanda and things like that on the 27th.
Definitely.
So,
20 Sunday, is that?
It's a Sunday, yeah.
Okay.
So Newcastle United females women's team playing. They were going to play Bradford, which would have been really good because I'd invited Asian Standard and various others. But because it's turned into a cup game, and because they're doing so well in the cup, they're playing Barnsley in the cup game. So yeah, you'll have to come. I don't know if Taff and whether Sis and various others are around and things like that. We'll sort out tickets and things like that. But Yusuf is going to be the mascot for that again, and he's going to walk out with Zara. Zara's too young to actually be the mascot, but I've organised for them to go out. I just think it's a great thing. But coming back to your feel-good factor, yeah, talking to the Saudi Business Link leader, they're keen to do more. They want to develop meaningful business relationships. They actually want to take businesses from here, including things like Kai Saudi and Dabawal Saudi. That's already been discussed, and they equally want to bring businesses from there to here. So I think there's a huge, exciting opportunity. We're certainly slightly ahead of the curve, and I'm really excited to be working with Ali, who's sort of worked across the public and private sector, and going forward, the likely potential is that there's going to be more Saudi-led opportunities, integration, and break down some of those barriers, which I just think is wonderful.
I think it's going to be brilliant for the city, and that partnership with the Saudi is obviously it's in many ways it's the richest country in the Middle East. It's kind of a little bit it's behind the progress that the United Arab Emirates have made. With Dubai is thriving, Abu Dhabi is growing. Obviously, Doha's got the World Cup. The countries like Oman and stuff probably more developed than Saudi, but I think the king or the Prince bin Salman, I think he's got a really strong focus on bringing Saudi up to those type of levels, and I think he's a very, very focused, determined individual, and he's also, they say that he's very impatient, so he wants things done really quickly, and he's got the drive and determination.
I think the fact that all too often the vast majority of anything government level takes like years to reach any type of fruition, unless it's obviously tax. But and then it's like instantaneous. But yeah, any sort of economic policies, sadly, take a lot of time. Although I must admit, it was really positive meeting with the permanent secretary this morning, and they are interested in learning more. But coming back to the Saudi thing, I'll be organising a trade mission to Saudi next year is what I'll be doing. So we'll have to go across and explore and exploit that.
Definitely, it'll be interesting to do that. Even when I know when Gordon Ramsay was up and I was speaking to his kind of executive chef, who's effectively his business development manager, and they have projects in Saudi Arabia as well that have started, and they've got others in the pipeline. So I think there is an international focus on Arabia at the moment.
But Jeff, Saudi, right? Contrary to popular belief, Saudi have been sort of at the pinnacle and the forefront of economic and health development. My late father left here, where he was he taught at Wickham Comprehensive and lectured at Newcastle University and was offered a job, one of the top 2 universities down in Cambridge and Oxford, but took the job in Saudi at Minarat International School. Now, they've always sought the best to come and teach and educate and build and do everything, right? And there's this sort of backward belief that Saudi, they walk around in these thobes, they ride camels, they don't really understand anything, and all the women are kept under the stairs. Well, might not have stairs, but anyway, under the stairs in their wigwams or tents or whatever it is, right? And it couldn't be further from the truth. That is an outrageous thought. Similar to sometimes, sadly, people elsewhere consider the Northeast as this backward place where it was coal. There's no coal here. There's no shipbuilding. Yet it is thriving. Then I was sat in the Catalyst on the old brewery site. There's so many beautiful buildings. It's thriving. I mean, just look at even, we've got the best restaurant, consistently. Are you going to the Curry Awards, Jeff? And have you failed to invite me again?
Oh, hold on. No, I will actually. We are going, but I need to organise an invite, man. Leave it with me. I'll get something organised.
No, I can't come. It was only just someone mentioned it yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, you can come as our VIP. There's all the celebrities there. Ammar, you can come and sit with like Prime Minister and all of this." And and I'm going. I says, A, I'm already too committed and I can't go. But B, I can't believe that year on year on year, my brother from another mother just forgets me.
No, do you know what it is, Ammar? You know what happens with us? So we have obviously, X amount of staff members, and then the ones that haven't been last year, you kind of put them on the list for this year. So we always, and those that slogging it out every day in, day out, they kind of get onto the list, and then we all of a sudden the numbers become really, really short. So that's why I have begun to struggle in recent times of being able to not take everyone that I would like to take. But it's just.
Jeff, selfishly, I'm not bothered about anybody else. It's like, as in, I think it's a great story and things like that. But to talk very frankly, the bottom line is, I should be the first person you ask, because you're always the first person I ask every single time. And there's no, in our relationship, I just feel as if it's soured somewhat, and and you don't love me anymore. And all of the effort that I put in, I just don't get it. Sorry, I thought I was having a conversation with someone else there. But anyway, are you up for an award? Obviously, silly question.
No, we are. I think both of the restaurants are, and there's lots of awards around the country, but we don't enter any of them other than the British Curry Awards, because it's by far the biggest, the most credible award ceremony that's out there. So we're going down on the 28th. So let's see what happens. I think Kai Kai has probably got a good chance because of what it is and what it's become. With Dabawal, it's still doing very, very well. But I think it's unlikely that they're going to give one operator 2 awards in an event where there's kind of 12 or 13 awards. So they probably like to spread them around, recognize others, which is also, I understand their perspective. So I think out of two, we probably got a chance of winning one, whichever one it may be, and maybe Kai Kai is the one that's got the gravitas at the moment, and it's probably making all the, it's probably kind of making all the noise at this current moment in time.
I think great. Good luck, Jalf. I genuinely, regardless of me being there or not, genuinely wish you good luck. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, we'll see what happens. We've done well over the years.
No, you have. And anyway, so coming back to the fact that I'm your biggest advocate and cheerleader and ambassador and still don't get an invite, I think it's beautiful that we as a region have such significant restaurants. I'm immensely proud to hear of when people say to me, "Oh my gosh, I went to Kai Kai and it was just like, oh God," or equally, "Oh, I can't get in. Oh my God, we've tried so many times," and both of those things bring a smile to my heart. Because it's such a big deal, and I think it's great. It just demonstrates, how wonderful we are as a region. So coming back to the Saudi thing, it's interesting if you hear and talk to the Saudis themselves. They equally, have a view of other, and hate being called and being suggested that they are like this. They're not happy about it. Let's think about them, people on the ground, communities there. The women who are given incredible opportunities and are very happy in the role that they play in society, in community. It's wrong for anyone else to suggest that they are sort of somewhat unequal or persecuted or prosecuted or thought of second rate or whatever it is. It's quite frankly offensive, and we should all recognize and appreciate individual cultures and religion and all of that, because if people are happy in it, why change it?
Well, Ammar, it's a very, very poignant point that you make, especially on the backdrop of the World Cup, which is just a few days away. And everything that you're saying is absolutely spot on. And unfortunately, they're trying to tarnish the Qataris and some of their some of the way of life that they've had for hundreds of years, however long their country has existed. And they're saying that, well, hold on, why should we change our culture for 31 days of the World Cup? Because this is who we are. This is our nation. Please come. Yeah. You're all welcome. We want you to come and respect our culture and experience it, because why do all the countries have to be the same? We should go and, if we go to, let's say we go to Tokyo or we go to Japan, we want to be able to experience their culture, and we're going as guests to their country. So we want to respect and embrace their culture and get to understand it. It doesn't mean that we have to live it, but we would like to respect it whilst we're there, understand their culture, and come back with a different experience. You can't have a homogenous world where every single country is exactly the same.
Now, and I think we need to recognize that. I mean, the flip side of that, and just for the purpose of impartiality, football can and is a force for good, which is great. Having said that, the World Cup was very much about the world. So it should go around the world. And we should celebrate and recognize those varying cultures. I mean, gosh, on that point, Jalf, right? One of my favorite cities in the world, because of the hustle, the bustle, the culture and everything else, was Hong Kong, right? And having gone there, the dichotomy or the difference, the extremity, the polarization of, we were staying in the Langham And it was in this sort of multi-billion-pound sort of state-of-the-art shopping centre. And we'd come out from the hotel onto the street, and there was a cart there selling like food. And part of the food that was hung up there were dogs. Not hot dogs. Well, they might have been hot, but not like hot dogs. But sort of hot dogs. It was outrageous. As in, I love dogs. I mean, I don't love them, but as in, I like dogs. I'd get a dog tomorrow. So just to think that, having said that, that's their culture. People eat monkey brains and like Indiana Jones and things like that. I don't know if they do in real life.
Chicken, cow's tongues and all that kind of stuff. And, the French eat snails.
Yeah. Well, if you're in the jungle, you eat like genitals and all of that. And that's our British. That's our British people. Like, anyway, so the point is that didn't then make me go, I found it abhorrent. It was disgusting that it was happening, and I disagreed with it, but I then didn't go, they're wrong. As in what they're doing. That's I did say they were wrong, but anyway, that was just my view. I then wouldn't, it's wrong for me to try and impose my opinion onto them. And I think that's particularly important. So there's so many things that I personally disagree with. I think as a society, as a whole, there's a whole range of, sort of modernization and appreciation. But yesterday, Jeff, I don't know if you've had the chance to go, but you need to go, is the Lindisfarne Gospels.
Okay.
So the Lindisfarne Gospels are at the Lang Gallery.
Okay.
The art gallery, which is sort of 3-minute walk from Highbridge, 4-minute walk. And the Lindisfarne Gospels were written in 670 AD.
Okay.
By Saint Cuthbert. Have you been to the Holy Islands in Lindisfarne?
No.
Have you not? Oh my gosh, that's outrageous.
What, Holy Islands up in where the water comes in and does something where you
Have you been there?
No, never been.
That's crazy. That's just like, oh my gosh, that's blasphemous, literally, because
Holy Island for then, Ammar?
Sorry?
Why is it called Holy Island?
Because Saint Cuthbert had come from Rome. He was there. Lindisfarne, they had like monastery. It was the center of the world.
Really?
Like there was everywhere from the Roman and various different empires were sending. It was a center at one point. It was like, not probably comparable to Rome, but if Rome was like the capital of Christianity and whatever else, Lindisfarne and Holy Island was the second place.
Really?
Yeah, that's how critical and important this area was. And the Gospels are a book, a religious book full of scripts written over time, and it's probably one of the most preserved religious books of the world. So it's like 1,400 years old, Jeff. 1,400 years, and it's there, and we've got the opportunity to see it and the story behind it. But it was, I mean, actually, I'd taken a few pictures, obviously, because that's what I do. And the pictures that I had taken share some insights. So Lindisfarne Gospels, so the early Christianity in Britain, right? So in 410 AD, the Roman Empire collapses in Britain.
Right.
I didn't know this, but this is really interesting. though the Christian faith remains in some areas, it is significantly diminished. 450 AD, the Saxons, Angles, and Jutes from Germany and Denmark invade Britain. They conquer southern and eastern England and introduce their pagan beliefs. 563 AD, Saint Columbo builds a Christian church on the island of Iona. It becomes the most influential monastic community in Britain. 596 AD, the missionaries sent from Rome by Pope Gregory the Great arrive in Britain. They are permitted by King Ethelbert to preach freely in his capital of Canterbury. 624 5 AD, Ethelbert's daughter, Princess Ethelberga, marries Edwin, King of Northumbria. So there was a king of Northumbria, and he was called Edwin. Their marriage introduces Christianity to the pagan north. 633 AD, Edwin dies in battle, leading to a resurgence of paganism. Ethelberga flees back to the south. It's funny, right? Because if you imagine like how connected England is now, in them days, like the north was like the north, and it was like, you know, took you days to get from the south to the north because you had to walk it. You know, imagine walking it. Like,
crazy.
635 AD, eager to re-establish Christianity in Northumbria, King Oswald sends for missionaries from Ireland. The monk Aidan arrives from Iona and establishes a monastery on Lindisfarne. So this is 635. 664 AD, the Synod, the Council of Whitby, rules that Northumbria should follow Roman and not Irish Christian practices. This causes division, and many members of the monastery on Lindisfarne leave for Iona. 665 AD, St. Cuthbert arrives on Lindisfarne. As prior, he works to introduce Roman Christian practices. So St. Cuthbert came to the Holy Islands in 665. In 685, Cuthbert is made Bishop of Lindisfarne. He retires 2 years later and dies 687. And then 700 AD, Bishop of Lindisfarne begins work on the Lindisfarne Gospels.
Wow.
So that's the history of Christianity. And it was here in the Holy Island.
It's amazing. I mean, the thing is...
And from a religious perspective, Jaff, all of the religions, but in particular Islam, recognizes the fact that it's early hadith. So any religion that comes from the book, and our book is compatible, right? As in you're accepted. So Christianity is recognized as the precursor to Islam.
Of course, it's all very, very similar, and there's just very small detailed differences. And unfortunately, people make such a big deal out of those small differences. But like you said, the beliefs and the line of prophets is more or less the same. So you know, we have to embrace each other's religion and learn to live together a lot better than what we do in some instances. So the World Cup starts on Sunday. Who do you think is going to win?
England.
Do you reckon so?
No, Qatar.
I mean, it's going to be...
What do you think?
I think... I mean, the obvious ones that you're always going to say for me is Brazil. Do you know I'm going to the World Cup? Did I tell you? I've got a couple of tickets.
How are you?
Yeah. Managed to get a hold of a couple of tickets. We're tafted. So we got tickets to the quarterfinal and the semi-final. And the it could be Brazil against Argentina if it all works out according to the schedule. So that would be amazing. But I think, obviously, Brazil is probably one of the favorites. I think there could be someone like Portugal who could be the dark horses because they're so good. And Cristiano Ronaldo, everyone's writing him off, especially with his interviews that he's given to Piers Morgan in the last couple of days. I think if you imagine the psyche that he's going to have going into the tournament, and maybe as if the footballing gods have their say, I think that Messi and Ronaldo, because of what they've done for the sport, they will have some kind of a say in the outcome. So Brazil, Argentina, or Portugal.
I think Brazil. I was going to say Brazil, to be honest.
You have France team, and you got to not dismiss that. You know, England. We were in the final in the Euros.
I think there's a potential there, Jalf. There's no question about that.
We've got that tournament experience now under our belts because we've been to the semis, we've been to the final, and the next step is to try and win it. So, you know, you don't know how knockout tournaments go because one decision, one moment of magic, or one mistake could make all the difference.
It can. Jeff, I'm going to have to duck out early, but Martha's going to finish the conversation with you. Martha, are you there?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
So Martha's really G'd up on all of the football.
All right.
She's the #1 fan of football.
Ammar, let's catch up soon, Ammar.
Yeah, well, we need to.
Yeah, we'll have lunch.
Okay. It's goodbye from me, but Martha and Jalf are going to finish this off. Martha, if you just talk about some of the things that we've been doing, Jalf, you know, I think it's from a significant, successful entrepreneur. It's about understanding some of the approaches that Martha's going to share with you, and I'll be back next week.
All right. Good to see you, Ammar. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Martha.
Thanks,
Hi.
You
How
okay?
are you? Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. So give us hold on, Martha. What's been keeping you busy in the last few weeks or so?
The main thing is that we've got a Pitch Perfect program starting on the 30th of November. So we're just trying to fill up the last couple of places on that. So that's helping businesses learn how to pitch. But we've got a 2-day residential at Hardwick Hall to kick it off, which is exciting. So yeah.
As in pitch themselves?
Yeah.
To win certain kind of deals, I guess.
Yeah, pitch to investors. So at the end of the program, we have like a pitch day for them to pitch. So,
and I'm assuming there's a process and certain techniques that you have to kind of go through that you kind of guide them upon.
Yeah. So there's creating a pitch deck, and things like making sure that all the business model value proposition is sound so they can sell that, storytelling techniques to make sure that it's captivating and gets people interesting, things, just confidence, how to pitch, how to speak to people, that's quite a key one, and then obviously getting your financial details in line, because investors won't pitch if they don't think that you've got it, won't invest. So yeah, there's a lot of content.
Yeah, do you feel at the moment that there is that whole industry, that market of investors and pitching to investors, is that quite is it booming at the moment? Is there a lot of action? Is there a lot of things going on in the market? Because obviously with all the budgets and everything that's happening and all the cost increases, I'm just wondering if there's a slowdown in kind of new investments in new areas of growth.
I don't know, to be honest, but I do think that at least because this program specifically for the Tees Valley, and there seems to still be quite a lot of investors, investment funds keen to start investing there. Like you keep hearing about I mean, this wasn't Tees Valley, but is it somewhere like Sunderland that's got a new sort of massive film studio opening soon? Or like, so they keep announcing these big projects that are
what Sunderland, really?
Yeah, I think it was something like it's going to employ 1,000 people and they're going to film some massive. I'm not, but yeah.
Interesting.
So it seems like there are still things going on. I just, yeah.
That's good. And so beyond that, what are the things that are keeping you busy? Day to day.
Day to day. Well, we just had a new apprentice start with us. She's called Rebecca, so then getting her on board and into the team, which has been good.
How old,
Sorry?
how old is she?
I think she's 22.
Okay. So still young, but not as young as 16. Because when I was
Yeah.
thinking, I'm thinking 16, 17, 18. But obviously you can still be an apprentice at any age, really.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it helps because I think she was working in the co-op or something before.
Okay.
So it's a completely different environment, but it still means that she's got quite a good idea of, like
How the world works a little bit.
Yeah, basically.
What the real world is like is what we try and say
Yeah.
to those kind of that have never worked in a certain industry before. So excellent. And she just joined really new, has she?
Yeah, she started last Monday. So she's just been here 2 weeks.
Okay.
But yeah,
Good.
no, it's nice having new members of the team.
Yeah. Good. And the World Cup, you have Polish origins, is that correct? No?
Well, I might do, but I don't know.
Okay. Oh gosh, sorry, apologies. I don't know why I thought that, but I just presumed that Martha was, for some reason, we've got a few Marthas working and they're all Polish, so
Really?
yeah.
No, no.
Who are you supporting? Are you supporting the team?
I am. Well, if we make it to the final, I'll probably watch that.
You don't
But
you don't follow a lot of football?
no. Like I said, I watched the Euros final and I actually got into that because it was exciting, but I didn't really care up until that point, I'm afraid.
What you need to do though is you need to get Ammar to take you to St James's Park because everyone living in the region, they must experience, honestly, they must experience what it's like to go to St James's Park
Okay.
because it's something that you must experience, and then you can decide whether you feel you should take an interest or follow football or not. Do you know what I do is when there's opportunity, I always buy some tickets to do exactly that. So I've sent lots of members of our team who've never been to a football match before for them to really experience it and understand the passion.
Yeah.
Newcastle, with everything that's happening with the football at the moment, every individual in the city must be aware of it, at least know what's going on and know what the Premier League is and know who Newcastle are and know some of the players because it's a real big deal at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Like on a world level, it's Newcastle is having a impact on an international level when it comes to the football, and it's massive in terms of the economic implications of that on business in the region. So for that reason alone, I think individuals should understand it and experience it. And you should get onto Ammar's case and say that, look, next time you go to the football, please get me a spare ticket.
I will. I do want to go. Definitely an experience at least.
Yeah.
And Newcastle, just like the atmosphere when you're in town on a match day.
Yeah.
So
I mean, football is the bread and soul of the city. It's just what it's been built on for many, many years. And just unfortunately, the previous owners didn't understand that and they didn't harness that is there. And once the new owners came, they understood it. They didn't have to do anything other than just invest a little bit and get that feel good factor back. It was so easy for them to do. And imagine, business model perspective, from where we were just over a year ago, and just by making some basic changes to have that connection to the people of a city, your business is thriving.
yeah.
So from a business perspective, what they've done is just absolutely incredible. The story is phenomenal, but it was so easy
to entertain, educate, and enlighten investors on 800 39 or